signs in stations, buses, and trains. Adjustments to the MTA's fares and tolls are necessary for the MTA to fulfill its legal obligation of a balanced budget. While the budget for this year will be balanced,
Thanks for the bang.
Dedicated tax and fare box revenue. The MTA is projecting significant deficits in future years. Without these adjustments and new sources of recurring revenue, those deficits will grow even larger, leading to potential cuts in service, staff, and further increases in fares and tolls. The MTA's website, mta.info, describes these proposed options in detail, as well as information including their presentation available outside the hearing room. Where we have staff available to answer your questions, you may have and take written comments if you do not wish to speak this evening. We encourage the public to comment via our website and also by mail to MTA Government Affairs, 2 Broadway, 20th floor, New York, New York, 10000, 20th floor, New York, New York, 10004. This hearing is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on proposed options, and members of the MTA Board of Directors and senior leadership are here to listen. And I want to emphasize that every bit of public comment, spoken comments tonight, and at other hearings, all correspondence, emails, phone calls, and comment cards will be transcribed and incorporated into the official record and provided to all members of the board so they can review them prior to final consideration of the fare and toll proposals. I also want to re-emphasize that staff is on hand this evening to answer any questions you may have on these proposed options, as well as service-related issues. Now let me briefly describe the procedures for tonight's hearing. I will call the names of the people to register to speak in the order in which they registered. For example, you may have registered online or by mail, and we will call you first. We opened on-site registration today at 4 p.m., and it will remain open until 8 p.m. And we will remain here until all registered speakers are heard. If you have pre-registered, please make sure you see staff outside so that we know you're here with us tonight. And when we call your name, please proceed to the nearest microphone located in each aisle. And give your registration tab to the usher. When you approach the microphone, please provide your usher name and any affiliation you wish to announce so that we have it for the record. And this is important so that we can be fair to all speakers. We ask that you keep your remarks to our limit of 2 minutes. The clock below will indicate how much time you have remaining, and the warning light will remind you when you have 30 seconds to wrap up your remarks. Now, if you run out of time, remember you can submit complete written testimony to supplement your oral testimony. This hearing site is accessible to people who are mobility impaired, and sign language interpreters are also here tonight. The restrooms are located through the doors in the back, and please silence yourself. Thank you for listening to that. And for the official record, today's date is December 11th. The time is 5:07 p.m. and the hearing site is York College, Milton G. Basin Performing Arts Center in Queens, New York. Now I'd like to introduce members of the MTA Board and senior leadership that are here with us tonight. Board Member Andrew Albert, MTA Managing Director Ronnie Hakam, MTA Chief Financial Officer Robert Forehand, MTA Long Island Railroad President Phil Ang, MTA Bridges and Tunnels President Cedric Fulton, MTA Bus Company President Daryl Hyder. Our first speaker this evening is Tiara M.
Oh no. Oh God, here we go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I was at the Baruch College hearing, and I'm going to say it again. Equality and accessibility is a civil right. I gave my story the last time, but basically I'm going to just say I'm an African-American woman, I'm legally blind, and I have a medical disability. My grandmother and mother, especially my grandmother, grew up in the Jim Crow era, where it was whites only, blacks went back of the bus, and Jim Crow was enforced. South Carolina. So I don't want to wait until the MTA feels that it wants to make the subways accessible. I want accessibility now. You criminalize the poor for fare meeting, but you don't also realize you're in violation of the law. You've managed to evade the ADA for almost 30 years. So you had 30 years to make the subways accessible and you chose not to. To me, that's the real fare meeting here. Don't criminalize the poor. And if you want to talk about upholding the law, uphold the ADA and make the subways accessible now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public speaker is Mr. X, followed by Howard Birnbaum.
Oh, God. Look Ronnie Haken's face.
I could be at home watching SmackDown instead of babysitting you. I don't feel I should have to pay more starting in March. I have a permanent reduced fare Metro card and malfunction on 12/8, which made the 30th anniversary of John Lennon was killed. 2 days after I started using it. Can you explain to me how a permanent or temporary, particular permanent reduced fare Metro card can malfunction 2 days after you start using it? Are you serious? Are you stuck on stupid? I don't know what caused the malfunction. Why I put it inside the SPX fare box. The one I used on my left didn't have any receipt paper. The one on my right had receipt paper that's going to give me a receipt. But when I swiped it in that fare box, I guess that's when it malfunctioned. And what I said, it malfunctioned 2 days after I started using it. And yet, you want me to pay you more money at the beginning of March. It's been over 6 years since the MTA Police Department, which is a bigger joke than this in this month, deactivated my first permanent reduced fare Metro card. That party was undisciplined, but yet I have to pay more money. And Ronnie, I brought that matter to your attention. I sent you an email last Friday.
There's the judge, Ira Greenberg.
Any emails I sent about my MTA concerns, which is why we shouldn't be here, okay? You, in addition to the fabulous Nola and Mayo, you and Polly can pass for beans and butthead. As I said before, you're both two peas in the pot, you're both stone stupid.
Thank you. Howard Birnbaum, followed by Christopher Gray.
Good afternoon. It's a question of the president of the MTA bus. How come the people on the wheelchairs don't pay when they board and the public have to pay? I vote no on this fare hike. Thank you very much for your time.
That's a good point.
Christopher Gray,
Tickles Chris from PCAC.
followed by Stephen Licardi.
There's Andy Byford.
Good evening, I'm Christopher D. Grant, member of the New York City Transit Riders Council, also the member of the LIR ADA Task Force. Since we're in Queens, it is important, again, that I bring up again, and I know I'm going to be a rerun episode, but I brought my book with me, the Fast Forward Program. We need to support the Fast Forward Program. Also, we need to remind that accessibility and the low-income families in this borough cannot afford the fare increasement. It is hurting the Social Security people who are straight Medicaid cannot afford it. It is hurting them. We need to do something to deal with the low-income families, as well as some people who cannot afford. Thank God they can get on a decent time to get on the Atlantic ticket, to go from Brooklyn to Queens or even to Green Acres Mall. It is a very congested area right now where the accessibilities cannot get on an MTA bus or sometimes a subway. Thank God we have the Atlantic ticket. So I am asking again, and I hope the persons are in this room, to please make it very clear. As people are coming up for accessibility, we need to work on the accessibility. accessibility areas for seniors and disability people. Because it is important, folks, that accessibility needs to make sure that an elevator is working, a bus is working, and as well as accessorized. But the only way to do that is to keep advocating and not going after the wrong people. So as I'm holding my book, please support the Fast Forward program, and please learn the Fast Forward program, because it is important that the Fast Forward program is going to happen one way or the other, but we need to work together to get our elected officials. I don't know if they're here today, but it would be nice to see them showing up to support this for the state, city, and federal elected officials. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Stephen McCarty, followed by Jason Panera.
Ooh.
Thank you very much for putting this together. My name is Stephen McCarty. I'm a social worker here in Jamaica, as well as a spoken word poet, and I'm here representing my clients. I work for a PROS program, which is for people with severe and chronic mental illness, and most of our clients come from rather far away to come to our program.
And you start getting ready.
We often deal with people struggling to get to our program each day because there's a lack of programs closer to their homes. And so my concern and the concern of my clients is that increasing these fares will make it more difficult for folks to get to their necessary programs, will lead them to decompensate in their mental health, and ultimately cost all of us taxpayers more money in hospital visits, in calls to the police, and so on and so forth. And I just want to reiterate that as public transportation representatives, we all represent folks' access to culture, access to public health, access to lots of different things that allow people to live an enriched life. And increasingly I'm seeing with my own clients, as well as other areas, people becoming extremely isolated because of these costs. And it's making our cities sicker. And so the health of our city really does depend on people's accessibility to transportation, to get to the people they love, to get to the supports that they need, and to get to the appointments that are necessary for them to maintain their health. And again, I want to reiterate that costs all of us. It costs the health of our city as well as our taxes. And just my last point is that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 13(1) states everyone has a right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. And so I just want you all to keep in mind that the rights of people are in your hands. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Jason Panera, followed by Tony Murphy.
First of all, Tim Ellis, what you did last night, or in other words, provoked last night at YU, it's a disgrace. I wonder if Steve Morello was here, what he will say.
He wasn't here.
But other words, today I took the Long Island Railroad from my home station, Atlanta Terminal, Brooklyn, to Jamaica. I paid my fare like everybody else. But the person who was across from me, a Hispanic girl, she didn't pay her fare. And this was at the 332 train from Atlanta Terminal, Brooklyn to Hampstead. I work at Amazon, like I disclosed in every single public hearing, and you guys know. I'm not going to be harsh against a certain group that is here today, but I have a small criticism against Bob Ferrer. You did a comment yesterday during the Finance Committee that indicates to me and others that you're the one responsible for the fare increase. It's pretty obvious that you want it. But where's the money from Albany and the counties that are served by the MTA? And where is the money from Warren Wilhelm Jr.? When you have those funds secured, then you could do the evaluation if to raise the fare and tolls or not. But in the meantime, no fare and toll increases. I'll see you guys in the morning.
Tony Murphy. followed by Brad Lee Brashear.
Hi, I'm here with the People's MTA. I see there's a lot of signs out. I'd like to see all the signs that are here, if possible. Some people, it's really better for me to talk directly to the people who are here. That's a little more productive than talking to this board that represents the rich. And you may be wondering why some of us are here in yellow vests. We've been inspired by the fight back in France that won cancellation of the gas tax and other concessions from the government. And like in France, the fare hike in New York is just like they describe in France. They say that gas tax is the tip of the iceberg. Well, the fare hike in New York City is really just the tip of the iceberg, which exhibits glaring inequalities in the transit system. And you could go on, and people will testify about that today. I won't have to list all of them myself, but two of the ones I'd like to highlight are one is the criminal lack of accessibility in elevators and ramps. This is a glaring problem, and I would just like to say that goes hand in hand with the attack on poor riders that the MTA has unleashed recently, claiming that they had to raise the fare because of fare jumpers. I'd like somebody to raise their hand if they believe that. I'm not seeing anybody. We don't believe that either. For the MTA to blame its problems on people who can't afford $275, shame on the MTA for that. Shame on the MTA. And we're not for criminalizing the poor. We're not for, as Andy Byford, the president of the MTA, said, getting more cops into the subway. We don't want more cops in the subway. Actually, we want the NYPD out of the subway. We want
Oh, God.
we want the police.
Shut up.
Like
Sir,
there did a couple
please
weeks
conclude the
ago.
remarks.
Okay. Now the MTA is worried about being on time. So.
Yes, Sodi, move it, move it.
To say that there are many things that you could say about the inequalities. The most glaring is that a $3 billion carpet is being pulled out for Jeff Bezos to come to Queens.
Sir, can you please
Which will
summarize
make-
your remarks? You can provide written comments.
I'll wrap it up.
Brad Lee Brashear.
Oh, God, here we go.
Next speaker is Brad Lee Brashear.
Amazon paid no federal taxes in 2017.
Thank you,
Biggest
sir.
fare beater is Jeff Bezos.
Oh, come. Really? Shut
Followed by Amy De Los Santos.
I wonder if Murphy pays his taxes.
I'm a Queens resident, and here today to represent both the New York City Transit Writers Council and the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council. The councils are members of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA and were established by the New York State Legislature in 1981 as the official voice of MTA writers. As we all know, Amazon plans to locate their HQ2 in Long Island City, in part due to its plentiful transit access. We urge Amazon to show they want to be good neighbors by funding transit investments in the area's transit infrastructure, including the 4 closest subway stations and the 2 Long Island Railroad stations. The current MTA capital program does not include any station improvements in the area, which will grow with rapid new development and displace L-train riders, in addition to the 25,000 Amazon employees. We know that not all improvements have to take a long time or break the bank. Rather, they can be innovative, similar to work done to extend platforms at Forest Hills and Kew Gardens Long Island Railroad stations. Difficult fiscal times call for new ways of thinking and funding. With that being said, we do understand that it's very
Phil-Anne's taking note.
to keep the city's vital transit system functioning, but there must be a guarantee of no service cuts. In areas of Queens like Rosedale and St. Albans, commute times can be well over an hour each way. We want to ensure that those riders who take the Long Island Railroad to Brooklyn have a one-seat ride without having to transfer at Jamaica. These riders already face long and difficult commutes, which service cuts and changes would only make worse. Clearly, reliable and sustainable funding sources are needed to fill the MTA's substantial budget gap. New revenues must be identified to keep the system in a state of good repair and to fund new transit options. We strongly strongly support the battle to identify and secure sustainable MTA funding sources in addition to a minimum fare increase. The system is the lifeblood of the city and must be appropriately funded. Thank you.
Thank you. A.D. De Los Santos.
Many people, the disabled, the seniors, the Hispanics, and others. There are at least a few facts that I would like to bring up to you that would prove that it would be very negative for you to raise the fares. One, Hispanics and people from other countries come to visit or live here in New York City. You people are always cutting service and raising fares. People don't know how to travel, and then they end up getting lost, and it's made more and more difficult for them. Again, that's not fair to them. Two, you do not understand the way a lot of people, especially the disabled, have trouble getting around, especially physically disabled ones. Why raise the fare when a lot of them, due to not having jobs, because they are physically disabled, they cannot get around financially and in other ways? Three, you raise the fare and you're going to end up losing the battle and maybe even the war, because just like somebody yesterday said that they used one of those vans to get to where they have to go, slowly you're going to end up losing passengers to them, and it's going to get more and more negative against you guys. And one more thing, are you guys being cowards with the famous and fancy people, and then you're being bullies with us, that you cannot ask them for money, and then you come to us and are being bullies to us and forcing us to pay your $3 when you know that would not be positive to anybody. And again, the disabled, especially the mentally disabled that cannot handle a lot of things that you are forcing onto them. Think about it.
Thank you,
Like
ma'am.
I said, we're going to lose a lot of passengers.
Thank you. Kaya Leisman.
Hi, MTA board. My name is Takia. I attend college, and I'm also a resident in Queens. My daily route includes taking the Queens 85 and Manhattan and Queens D train. I would like to take this opportunity to voice my concern toward the metropolitan transportation system here. As a frequent commuter, using the metropolitan bus and subways, I've experienced a lot of inconveniences that have made me doubt taking public transportation. My inconveniences are particularly on the Queens 85 to eastbound E train, which happens to have a delay in the direction towards Queens, usually at the cutoff point at the Queensboro Plaza. Yeah, around that cutoff point, that's when it's always delayed. These issues I face on my daily route, buses and trains include severe delays, poor service, and poor hygiene conditions, which is excrement on the bus and subways, literally excrement, whatever feces or urine, stuff like that. And that's not something that I think that I should be paying $3 for. And these inconveniences not only affect my commute, but my sleep and the way that I have to manage my schedule. I have to wake up earlier because not only will I be late for school because of the buses are mostly late, but I also have to, what do you call it? I have to manage my time to meet the bus because the buses run on their own schedules. They don't follow the schedules that's there. And all these changes that are placed are my responsibility because the metro system has failed me, and the the 2.658 billion commuters they claim to serve. The metropolitan transportation system needs to take responsibility and improve its quality, service, and conditions before they increase any fares on the commuters' behalf. Not only do I question. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Larry Penner, followed by Shakira Green.
For those public officials, board members, and others who oppose any fare increases and be quick to demagogue on this issue for political purposes to win upcoming elections, just how would the MTA balance financial shortfalls? Which capital improvement project should the MTA cancel to help balance the budget and avoid fare increases? Which routes would you support service reductions to save operating hours? Would you volunteer to reduce service, cancel, or delay any capital projects benefiting constituents in your district? What future union contracts would you ask for more flexible work assignments, ability to hire part-time employees, reduce salary increases, and contract out more work to the private sector? Will you ask employees to increase their contributions toward medical coverage and retirement pensions? Those who oppose MTA fare increases overlook past history. MTA services continue to be one of the best bargains in town. Since the 1950s, the average cost of riding into the bus, subway, or commuter rail has gone up at a lower rate than either the consumer price index or inflation. The Metro card introduced in 1996 affords a free transfer between the bus and subway. Prior to this, riders had to pay 2 full fares. The majority of residents purchasing a weekly and monthly New York City Transit bus, subway, Metro card, or Long Island Railroad ticket, which further reduces the cost per ride. Many employers offer transit checks, which pay even more the cost. In the end, quality and frequency of service is dependent on secure revenue streams. We all have to contribute, be it the fare box or tax revenues generated by different levels of government redistributed back to the MTA. Tank stop, there no such thing as a free lunch, in this case, free ride. In the interest of transparency, I'm a transportation historian, advocate, and writer who previously worked for the Federal Transit Administration, Region 2 New York office, with some of my old friends up in place. This included the review, approval, and oversight for billions of dollars in MTA New York City Transit bus and subway capital programs. It is a dream, the trifecta of congestion pricing, millionaire's tax, on non-resident commuter tax, to believe that any of the two will pass, let alone find the method of sufficient funding. Like it or not, a fare increase is inevitable. It's a question of when and how.
Thank you. Shakira Green, followed by Alex Jacobs.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Shakira Green, and I just want to first off by thanking you all for the improvements that I have seen over the years, but I do think that there's still room for improvement. I do understand that you have labor costs that are just alone $455 million, in addition to having to provide benefits for your employees and also dealing with reduced funds from the city and the state. But I think it's difficult to demand more from us without us seeing results. And so
Like the last speaker said, I spent 2 weeks in Shanghai. The trains were beautiful. They spoke to you in Chinese and English. They were impeccable. They were clean. Nothing was delayed. And New York City is one of the richest cities in the world. And you're trying to nickel and dime the poor people. Meanwhile, you're giving breaks to people who make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. That seems criminal to me. I guess I have other things to say, but, you know, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm nervous, because you all have very fancy, nice, rich lives, fancy, nice, rich dinners, fancy, nice, rich homes, and maybe you don't see it. But the world is changing, and people are suffering in different ways every single year. And maybe for the past decade or the past 2 decades, it's been possible to raise the fares, maybe a nickel, maybe a dime, maybe a quarter, maybe $1. But soon you're going to be pushing too hard. And like I said, I got 50 seconds left, so I just want to use it just because why not? But like I said, honestly, it's just embarrassing. Like, you all get to live in like beautiful apartments, maybe you own homes. Meanwhile, you have people here who are complaining about the fact that they can't ride the elevators to get onto the train, to get to work, to get to the doctors, and you're trying to charge them 25 cents more. Why don't you go after all the super tall condo buildings in Manhattan that are not paid? You can tax the shit out of that. You can get money from there. You're trying to take it from people that are on SSI, SSD, from people who don't have the money for this. That just seems like bullshit to me. Thank you.
Look at this. The E is going to run to Whitehall.
Followed by Juan Castillo.
Yes, I am a retired track worker for the New York City Transit Authority. I retain union membership, and I oppose the fare hike. I oppose any service cuts, and I oppose the job cuts. It's still the project of management of the MTA, not only to raise the fares, but to do away with all station booths, which is another attack against the poor and working class people who need help, directions, etc., making their way around the subway. I think it's a shame and a disgrace, just to agree with other speakers on this, and it really aggravates the feelings of working class people in this city, as well it should, that the fare hike is coming at the same time as this massive giveaway to the richest person in the world and his company, that being Amazon and Jeff Bezos. So that's got to be stopped. A question I've had for many years, and maybe somebody can answer it tonight, is the massive bond debt payments that the TA makes, up to $40 billion, I think, total. Who is getting the money? Transit. Name the individuals, name the companies that are getting that money. It's a matter of public record. Who is a transit worker, what the wages of transit workers are. Anybody can look it up and find out who we are, but we can't find out who it is that's getting this money. I think it's important, if you're really looking for a place for the funds, you've got to stop paying those bonded debt payments, at least a moratorium for a year or some period of time, and stop the attacks on the jobs, stop the attacks on the service. Thank you.
Thank you. And sir, as I mentioned before, there is MTA budget and finance staff out that could answer some of those questions for you. Juan Castillo. Juan Castillo will be followed by Rhonda Hamilton.
I am at my wit's end. I've been attending to your hearings. Also, I agree with everyone that protest the fairness and also the toll hikes on bridges and tunnels. There are many people like myself, they work part-time and they can't afford to pay. They pay $3 for a single bus or subway fare, or about $10, $15 for a bridge toll. Also, how are you gonna fix other things like Like if you're gonna do like phase 2 or 3, both phase 2 and 3 for the Second Avenue subway simultaneously, put the money for that project instead of for the Fair Heights. Also, you can also put money on making other subway stations that have elevator accessibility and like wheelchair stair lifts or accessible ramps from the platform, from the street to the platform. That way, when the elevators are down, they're gonna have a lot of problems getting up to the street level or down to the subway. Like I said, we need more ramps. Yeah, we need to have more ramps to those that have ADA accessibility, including those that might be proposed to get accessibility sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wanda Hamilton, and I'm here to speak for myself and my fellow million commuters from the 5 boroughs and the tri-state area. It is not possible to sustain fare hikes at the rate you guys are going. You don't work for a government agency, you don't work for the rich, you don't work for anybody else but commuters and the taxpayers. That's who funds everything. They do it through working. It is not possible for you to keep increasing fares every 2 years or whenever you guys feel that there's a shortfall. The way the MTA is funded is through ridership, fares, and taxes, both of which the commuters pay. They're paying twice for the privilege of riding on the subway. And it's not possible for you to keep doing this over and over again. It has got to be some way that people move taxes from something else and put into the infrastructure of improving the MTA system and not putting the burden on taxpayers and commuters over and over again. It's not possible. It's not sustainable. You're basing a fare hike on a shortfall that you're saying is coming from, if I'm understanding correctly, an actual budget that is from the previous year, forecasting, doing, based on, I think, every 5 months or so, and trends. It is not possible for you guys to keep blaming this on the actual people using the subway. It's not possible. It is, I've been living in New York City for over 30 years. I've never seen the ridership go down. I've never seen the trends that you guys keep talking about. That it is not.
Please conclude your remarks.
Sure. I appeal to the board as fellow residents of the tri-state area,
Colton.
possibly being commuters,
Nothing much.
to think
Already Mr. X spoke, Tony Murphy spoke, and I spoke.
this is having on a population that is not wealthy. It is the wealthiest city, but the commuters are the people who run this city. Civil servants and everything else.
Thank you.
From the A to the Z.
Jennifer Van Dyke.
From the A to the Z.
Joseph Caladares.
From the A to the Z. Public transit should be free.
No.
Public transit should be
Look, you have your good points.
That's not it can't be feasible.
Look, there are things you're right about, but there are things you're wrong about.
Mr. Valadares will be followed by Montgomery Cat.
That's one of them.
Speaker after you. Okay.
Damn.
First off, I want to say that I'm disappointed in you guys because you're sitting up there and I'm not paying attention to your body language and your facial expressions. Every single one of these people are like pouring their hearts out, and you guys are not taking any of it in. I want to start off by saying also that I have run for trains, I've run for buses, watched them pull off in my face. As the bus driver is looking at me, I've actually gotten on buses and expressed my displeasure with them making me run 20 blocks. And the only thing I was met with was submit opinions.
I'm gonna be on channel.
Whenever you have a problem, you want us to fix it. I see every one of you up there is dressed very nice, and everyone out here is dressed the best they could. I want to see a raise of hands. How many of you actually take this public transit?
Okay.
1, 2. All right. I was actually looking up, Mr. Darryl. You're actually a 6-figure income. You're on the list for the top 50 people paid for that TA. That makes no sense. How are you guys asking us to pay $3 per fare for a single ride on a bus or train when they barely even work? And you're going to be taking out a subway system, which is the L line, for how many years?
15 months.
So that's a year and change. And you want
A year and 3 months. Yeah.
In any other service industry,
You saying John? I don't know.
He said he wasn't coming on his last video.
that should be fair for you guys. It shouldn't be something that we should be able to start because you have put in the time, I guess. You all have very nice titles. I don't have that, and I don't have the money to pay.
Yeah, I did the live stream for the one in Manhattan, the one last night in Brooklyn, and I'm doing the live stream for the one now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna use the time that I have to just kind of sink it all in because I'm probably gonna be here a lot, and you guys don't seem like you're gonna be changing anything anytime soon. So, thanks. Thank you.
Montgomery Cat. Followed by
Hello, good evening, MTA board. I'm a commuter, been traveling on the train historically for years.
Yes.
Over years,
Tonight, none.
So far, none.
Whatsoever.
Yes.
It's just a misunderstanding of why the poor people are always taxed. Poor and working class people are always taxed. The subway stations in itself, when you ride on these rush hour stops, they're overcrowded, you're packed like a sardine.
You gonna speak in her behalf?
There's unsafe situations going on with subways flashing, and people can't even get home
Okay.
safely. And there is always weekend service, which is worse than other times during non or rush hour time frames. I've been late to interviews because I couldn't get the train on time, or wanted to get the train, and I'm getting a ticket from the MTA stations from
Damn,
transit
if she could go to a food board like Adriano Espaillat, I know, but I'm saying in the future, if she could go like Adriano Espaillat did, that could be a huge surprise.
Who do you represent?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
And mail the form directly to the MTA headquarters. They do not want to give you a refund. This is outrageous. How do you have Amazon over here going out of the city? Where are these politicians at talking about capital budgets? And they're not even here to even help these people who vote for them. They don't even come to these board meetings or none of these public hearings. You seem like you have a poor attitude towards us, even speaking out about this whole matter. I shouldn't be paying no $100 ticket just to get on the train. I barely even have a job. I'm trying to be before the train gets went up from tokens when it became tokens up to 275. So it's very difficult for another year that we have to endure fare hikes every single year. It's always a fare hike. Where is the transparency at? You can write the
Ooh, Bob Ferrand doesn't like that word.
with the taxpayers' money.
Right.
Poor people and elderly people matter. And people in diverse cultures and also can I bring
Thank you,
up
ma'am. Mohammed Shahid.
Assalamu alaikum, peace for all. Let me start with praising the French worker class and the MTA workers for doing the best service, whatever circumstances they have. Compared to you, your earning and their salaries, that's the problem. That's the feelings, and they are human. And as you're listening to this thing, that we are doing everything, how we can have a best 21st century in New York, in the United States, best service compared to the other countries. I don't know how many people visited many times in European countries. How you compare our MTA system, New York, to the other countries? Even they have very small, even they have that kind of budget. They have the whole life budget, which we spent one war against the 17, 16 years in Afghanistan. A shame. So I'm going to ask you, let's make this MTA the 21st century something. If you never go to Europe, go to the Europe. Find out, and then give back the report that how you compare our MTA system. I'm going to ask you to please do something for the announcement, as said before. Please do something, spend some money, ask some expertise that our conductors, when they speak, it should be understandable, especially when people coming from Asia, Africa. Believe me, it's not understandable. And then it will be very nice, because being a disabled person, my whole power is on my ears. So if it's possible that visualize things, that people can read something with the next station, and when you have to change the system, the queue train running things, it should become, the queue lines should be clear, and what's the next station. But sometimes they happen that end train running in the queue, nobody knows where they're going because they have the old system, the computer is not working. So let's start how we can make best our MTA system by caring about the people's, what you listen, sir. And these are 12 people who are sitting over here. Please understand the working class problems. You are our voice if you want to. Otherwise, it's my dear fight for the like a revolution in France. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Warren Pugh. Followed by Tashay Howe.
All right, so I'm here to talk about Amanda Jackson. All right, and raise your hand here if you heard of the name Amanda Jackson. All right, so a lot of folks, which means you're trying to keep this news from you. Amanda Jackson is a woman who a few weeks ago was falsely arrested for fare beating. This is a black woman who was aggressively handled by a few cops at Atlantic Barclays Terminal. When asking around, folks found out she actually paid her MetroCard fare, yet the cop didn't like what she was saying. Apparently she was being, quote, disrespectful, as many of us have been called disrespectful, taking the freaking transit system. She was called that, and then they said that she needed to pay her fare, as if she didn't pay her fare, but she did, because her friend was there. So she was shoved against a hard surface and handcuffed. And according to our research, we know that each arrest for supposedly fare beating costs the city of New York $1,750 per person, and sometimes there's a range. It's like $1,750 to $2,000 per person. So as you can imagine, with all of the supposed fare beating that the city has to do, they would be making enough money to pay for the transit system. But yet we're seeing y'all trying to raise fare increases to $3, $3.50. I don't even know how much more it's going to cost. And the point is money that you're making off of arresting black and brown people in New York City is the same money that could be used to actually house New Yorkers. It's the same money that could actually be used to provide health care for New Yorkers instead of us having to take care of each other. I almost got slashed on the train the other day, and the reason why is because we're not taking care of New Yorkers in the way that they should be taken care of, and we have to fend for ourselves. And when I'm in the emergency room, guess where that money is going towards? It's not going towards my community, it's going towards Amazon, and it's going towards all of you, because I know how much y'all make. So to increase this to $350 and then more, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Hello, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm also very angry. When somebody asks you guys who takes the train, almost all of you raised your hand. I think you're full of shit.
Oh, Lord!
That's what it looks like. And number two, I saw this article in the paper about how they want to criminalize fare beaters. Maybe if you don't raise the fare so high, people won't jump over the turnstile. Also, stop criminalizing homeless people. They have nowhere to go, all right? Because of the fact that we have these tall towers going up all over the place, they seek refuge in the train, and they get treated like animals because of it. And I'm somebody that, I don't live in New York, but I grew up here, and I live in Jersey. But I have to
Oh, Lord.
It just occurred to me that, oh my God, I'm paying almost
Why
$10
doesn't criticize his NJT?
You guys think that's cool? And I also really appreciate hearing the young man talk, because if we are the richest city in America, what is our problem? Why can't you get it together? Where is the money going? Where is it going? It's certainly not going to me. I take 2 trips on my Metro card. I got 5 cents left. What is wrong with this picture? So when you go home at night, you live in your little comfortable houses, and I'm sure you got your cars and your drivers. You think about the person that cannot afford to get on the train, or somebody that loses their job because they were late to work, or they didn't get a job because they missed their interview appointment. Think about that. Thank you.
Followed by Nate Chase.
Agitated on the train anymore, because there's a really good reason to be agitated on the trains. A few of these speakers are like mentioning a lot of things that I should say, but I'm wondering is why we're spending $50 million.
Restart that clock.
$50 million prosecuting fare beaters, not using that money for something else. And, yeah.
That's right.
Nate Chase. Followed by William Horowitz.
Ooh.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming out tonight to speak the truth about what's really going on with the subway. Thank you everyone who's here. I just want to start off by pointing out how the idea that this hearing was well publicized is laughable. If it wasn't well publicized, this place would be full, and there's almost no one here. We were talking to people out on the street. They had walking by, had no idea, and they'd say, oh, I wish I didn't have to go to work, I didn't have to go to class. If I'd known, I would have planned, and I would have come here and would have spoken my mind. I want to ask a little bit about, I always wonder why in these hearings, whenever the MTA has a board meeting, occasionally a board member might throw up their hand, well, we got to find some new sources of revenue. Yeah, someone can really do something about that, and that's it. There's never any attempt by anyone on the board to find new sources of revenue. So last week, you all did a media blitz to suggest about a new source of revenue, that it's quote-unquote fare beating. The people jumping the turnstile are the reason that you can't pay for stuff. Now let's think about that for a second. First of all, according to your estimates,
18 people are jumping the turnstile at every station in New York City 24 hours a day. Come on, folks, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And even if that's true, the amount of money, I believe they're claiming about $250 million, is not a significant amount of money in the MTA budget. I mean, the interest payments alone are what, $2 billion, folks? I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a lot more than that. And as Lauren pointed out, the cost of arresting people for fare beating is orders of magnitude greater than the money that they're supposedly stealing from you. Now let's talk about some other sources of revenue, like Amazon, or how about let's get rid of these cops and instead use that money to pay the MTA workers like a heroic man who spoke over there, who spent his life making this subway system work. Thank you. Thank you for making this system run. You make this system run, not these gentlemen up here. Last I want to say, swipe it forward, folks. It's completely legal. It's completely legal with your Metro card. You have an unlimited Metro card, leave the system, swipe people in. There is no reason people should be spending $6 round trip to go to work so that people can make money off their backs, while the people making that money are not being taxed. The rich, Amazon, Wall Street, they should be paying for the subway. The subway is making them money. That's why they're paying that fare, so you can go to work and make them money. If you want to get involved with everyone here, obviously we're not here to talk to them. Speak to us at People's MTA.
The Fiascos MTA!
Our next speaker is William Horowitz.
Stop the fiasco! Stop the fiasco!
Good evening, everyone. Hobby of mine since I was 4 years old, so I pretty much consider myself an expert on the MTA system, and politics is my passion. But to illustrate my expertise with the MTA, I do write a blog on 2 transit-related websites. One is metro.weka.com, the other is MTA-NYC-transitbanning.weka.com. I encourage everybody to go check them out and just put in my name, William M. Horowitz. Unfortunately, I cannot give you every single one of my ideas and every single one of my proposals that could improve the system and fix the system. But let me just give a couple of ideas off the top of my head. As far as the commuter railroads are concerned, I've always wondered why is it that the peak times are more expensive than the off-peak times? I would think that we would want to encourage people to use the commuter railroads during the peak hours. And so one idea is maybe you could slightly increase the off-peak time while you lower the peak time, so that we could encourage people to use Metro North, Long Island Railroad during the peak hours as opposed to driving. Another problem is bus bunching, which is caused by delays. And, you know, I could go on with several ideas that could be implemented that could improve the system, which would bring more revenue to the MTA, so you could use that money to pay off your debt and finish all of these projects. But like I said, I only have the limited amount of time to speak, and as I said earlier, I encourage you to go to those 2 websites. You can put my name in, and like I said, I write a blog on those 2 websites with several ideas and proposals to make the system better.
Thank you. And certainly we'd like to leave your information in the front. Happy to take a look. Shanika Carles, followed by Charlton De Souza. Ms. Carles?
Oh, hey, Carlton.
I just wanted to speak because I heard about this hearing from a pool. Then my voice for how I feel about the fare hikes. I'm a Brooklyn college student, even though I live in Queens. So as you know, like, it used to be pretty rough for me with train delays and me being late for class. Even though I'm like responsible, young adult who make sure there's enough time to go to class on time. And the fare hikes, I feel like I wonder what's happening with the money there, because I moved back to the city after living in New Jersey for 6 years in 2009, and the fare from my memory seems like 2 times since I've been back here. But I'm just wondering what's happening with the money, and it's pretty expensive for us college students, working, trying to go to school, and the fare's going up, but I don't see much improvement in the trains and buses for it to be going up. So I just wondering why it's happening. That's all.
Thank you. Charlton D'Souza.
Thank you.
Followed by George Hopper.
Good evening, MTA board members. My name is Charlton D'Souza, and I am speaking on behalf of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman-elect for the 14th Congressional District. The 2, 5, 6, 7, N, W, E, F, R, and M are the most unreliable subway lines breaking down, leaving people stranded without any train service during rush hours, forcing people to pay for expensive cab rides. In fact, many of my constituents have been fired from their jobs, even though they left 2 hours early but were delayed on late trains. Furthermore, commuters are angry over the lack of communication from the MTA. Why are 7 train riders being charged $12 to board the Long Island Railroad during subway service disruptions? To make matters worse, the tailed CBTC contract on the 7 line was installed late and over budget. We keep getting assurances by Andy Byford that CBTC will solve all the delays. But here are some facts. The additional riders from the LaGuardia Air train at Willets Point will take away seats for daily subway riders. Throughout our city, we have broken rails, stalled trains, sick passengers, and corroded switches, which will not improve under CBTC. Therefore, MTA bus and subway fares should not be raised at all, especially at a time when Amazon has been offered huge tax breaks without realizing the serious impacts to our community. What happens when Amtrak closes the East River tunnels to fix damage caused by Hurricane Sandy? Commuters from Long Island will not be able to fit on subway trains. Therefore, the taxi cab traffic passing through our district will only add to our air pollution. And again, my district has several service needs, which includes more express bus service from Midtown overnight to the Bronx, to substitute for poor subway service. In addition, we need more travel options by building 2 new LIRR stations located at Elmhurst and Queens Boulevard Bridge along the Port Washington branch. Discount options such as Freedom Ticket must be implemented for the Bronx and Queens, so riders traveling from Pelham Bay to Penn Station can do it in under 35 minutes. We also need a Metro North stop added above the N train station at Ditmas Avenue in Astoria, so that economic opportunities will grow, bringing in commuters from Connecticut without having to travel from Manhattan. My staff and I would like to be briefed because it's my understanding that the Astoria station was eliminated. I look forward to seeing these improvements implemented with any assistance that my office can provide on the funding needs for the 2019 budget session. I would like MTA officials to attend 2 town halls in the Bronx and Queens with all the board members present, all the board members. I only see 1 board or 2 board members here, which is a disgrace.
Yeah, especially George Baldwin.
Thank you.
3 board members are out. 3 or
Tony Herbert.
I figured I'd just make it to all 5 rows at this point, but one of the things with the schedules, there's way too much overlap.
Wonderful speech, Carlton. I wrote it for them.
You know, it's not right to have overlap, and then you have giant gaps at the end of the rush hour, overlap at the beginning of the rush hour. That's not
you forgot to
efficient. One of
mention the bedbug
points of
situation.
this plan was to make the whole system easier to schedule,
okay.
and if for some reason the schedules keep on getting messed up, and that's to be addressed. The other thing, actually, kind of the opposite of what he was saying with the Long Island Railroad, I actually think that with the express buses, you know, the peak fare, if anything, and I say this as a peak rider, but I also have a weekly pass, so it doesn't really matter. The peak fare should be a little bit higher because off-peak service and reverse peak service is cheap to operate because a lot of times the drivers are going back the same way anyway, or, you know, reverse peak, it's like they got that swing in the middle, you know, the capital issue with the buses and everything, you have to buy enough buses for the peak service. The other thing is the issue of off-peak coverage on the Staten Island end, or the or disagree on a lot of things. We also agree on a lot of things, and this happens to be one of the things that we agree with, that, you know, the Manhattan traffic, even off-peak, is just crazy, and we gotta split the lines. The exact method, she thinks it should be the 1 and the 10, I think it should be the 1 and the 6, because the 1 and the 6 cover, you know, more areas together, but the 10 is a little bit more centralized, you know, but they both cover the same border. In any case, I mean, a lot of the riders trust us and everything, you know, you have the Facebook group and everything. You know, we can definitely have that conversation because we want to see, you know, it be more efficient. Every single time it's like, you added $1 million initially, now you added another $1 million. I mean, you can't keep throwing money at the problem and thinking it's going to go away. You gotta, if it's going to be efficient, that's great, you know, but it needs to be efficient for everybody and not just, you know, just, you know, all the routes that are you know, extended there. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Herbert, followed by Gordon Lee.
I'll wait. I'll let my people speak. To all the Queens folks and all my New Yorkers, how y'all doing? First, let me just say good evening and thank you. I wrote some stuff down because it's a lot that I wanted to share. But good evening and thank you for this opportunity to testify about your plan to kindly force poor New Yorkers to spend more money for less services. My name is Tony Herbert, and I'm the founder of Advocates Without Borders Network and a candidate for New York City Public Advocate. I want to begin by stating that neither of the options you are proposing are acceptable because both will force riders to pay more for less. Basic business protocol and logic tells us to change or eliminate elements of a business plan that aren't working. But when something isn't working at the MTA, your protocol is to ask riders to pay more. That practice is kind of mind-boggling, especially when you consider that the reason that you want to raise fares is because ridership allegedly is down. Ridership is down because the MTA subway and bus service stinks. New Yorkers are turning to ride-sharing programs such as Uber and Lyft to get them from point A to point B. These private companies have been able to do something that the MTA, with all of its staff and with a multi-billion-dollar budget, cannot provide conveniently, dependable service at prices that are affordable. Now that more and more people have traded in their Metro cards for ride-sharing apps, the MTA is now deciding to cut back service and asking riders to pay more. How can you figure? Let me make it plain. This fare hike will impact our poorest New Yorkers because they don't earn enough to qualify for a credit or debit card so they can utilize a ride-share app. Let me make my point with the numbers. Your lowest fare structure will cost New Yorkers $1,500 per year. That's if a person can afford to purchase a monthly Metro card at $125 per month. Now consider this. At minimum wage, a New Yorker will take home approximately $25,000 per year, with an average rent of $1,500 per month or $18,000 per year.
Yeah.
The minimum wage earner is left with what? $550 per month? But then you take out the $125 you want for a monthly Metro card.
Good luck with them. Good luck with them.
Utilities, clothing, and everything else involved with living in this crazy city we call New York. Could you live on that? Could you really live on that? Now, minimum wage earners are trapped to pay whatever price the MTA decides to charge. So let's call this hearing what it is. The MTA picking the pockets of New York's poorest residents. With all due respect, I'm opposed, and you should be too.
Good night. I'm Gordon Lee from Brooklyn, also known as Brooklyn County, Queensborough. Gordon Lee, but you can also call me Greg, because some people have a long version. Now, I am a member of several coalitions. New York Needs for Change, Black Stand Coalition, National Action Committee, Close Rikers, No New Jails, 75, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy ICE.
You have a pen on you? I think so.
Many. Anyway, I am here because I also am against fare increase, and I am forced out to reject the fare increase. Everything that these people said in here, it's true. No, not only if we can't let the fares keep going up, and we can't let the cost of living go up and up, because only people with a good income could afford it, but low incomers cannot. Low incomers what are they gonna do? Also, even if we could afford the fare increase, it's not worth it because the subway's conditions, they're really not good. Every subway should have escalators and elevators to accommodate the disabled. And every subway should have bathrooms so that we don't have people being on the floor creating unsanitary conditions. It hurts everybody who uses the subway. And so that's why I say even if we could afford a fare increase, it's not worth it. It's also a principle. I happen to believe in principle. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Flounders, followed by John Lynch.
Bite, bite, bite. Bite, bite, bite.
Ms. Flounders.
Sarah Flounders with the People's MTA.
The Fiascos MTA.
How many of you are paid for your positions? Can I see a show of hands?
None.
How many people sitting up there are paid to be on the MTA board? None. Of you are paid for this? You're all doing this out of the goodness of your hearts?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I actually don't believe you. Not one hand up. And every one of you know that you're getting rich off of the position that you're in.
A fiasco.
Now take Latour, who just resigned a month ago. $2.5 million. $2.5 million was what he was paid for serving on different boards, including about $300,000 on this board. So you're making many, many, many times more than any of the riders, and that is corruption. It's corruption that you're engaged in because you're doing policies that benefit the banks and their interests and not the riders. Now that is corruption, and every one of you should be brought up on charges for corrupt practices. This board should be replaced. This board should prosecute for non-service for millions of riders and replaced with a board of working people and disabled and union members. That should be the board of the MTA, not those who serve the rich and get paid for doing it again and again, and then sit up there and refuse to answer our questions. We have questions for you. It has to do with your pay and the billions and billions of dollars that have gone to the banks over decades. The subway system, the MTA, has been paid for again and again and again. And the interest rates roll over again and again and again. And we're the ones who are made to pay. And it's a war on the poor for which every single one of you should be prosecuted, because it's corruption when you decide again and again for the banks and against poor and working people, against disabled people. We have rights, and around the world, people are demanding those rights and replacing corrupt boards that represent bankers and the super rich. So you should all think about this and actually resign.
Thank you. John Lynch.
The Fiascos MTA.
MTA board. And, my name is John Lynch from Queens, lifelong resident. And this is some other speaking. Maybe I'm a little nervous, that was. But riding trains for 50 years, going back to when I was talking and why the little thing there. So I know a thing or two about the subways. I'm here tonight because I am concerned about the raises, and how people might not be able to afford. And I just want to give you some, okay, 28, okay. Going back to from 2010, a 30-day unlimited was $89. We want to make it now $127, which would be a 42% increase. The base fare back then in 2010 was $2.25. Try to make it $3. You know, so again, it's not fair to keep getting the people. We need, especially, as many people have said here today, when you can get people for Amazon getting billions of dollars who don't need it at all. The people in this room need it. One I said, well, a couple things. I suggest you bring back the 14-day unlimited card, because in 2010 it was eliminated then. People cannot afford it one shot to put $127 in. Yes, you have the 7-day card, but the 14-day card would be much easier, because as I said, you've got to pay rent, food, and everything. One thing which some of my friends I think will disagree with me, I'm going to get close here, fair reading. I myself feel, maybe you get all of you feel the same as me, when you're not seeing that money coming in, it's hurting the bottom line, and then they have to raise the fares. I really do think that we should go after the fare readers. I'm sorry. Because again, I'm sorry, no. No, don't call me that. But don't call me that.
No, it's not that.
Don't call me that. Okay, because how much time is up? It goes on all over the city. I've seen on the SPS 52, 53.
It's not.
And I see people all colors, ages, getting on the bus, not only not paying their fare, charging the Wi-Fi, and they're laughing. They're getting away with it.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've got to get the money.
Yeah.
They don't understand that money will come back into the system, and we don't have to be here for meetings in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. David Paul Gerber.
Good evening.
Followed by Chiam Peak.
3 open seats today. Some board members are absent. Let's talk about a few things why this fare hike is not needed. One, actually 12 things. One, Amazon deal. That's at the top of the list. A $3 billion tax break for Bozo the clown. I mean, the tax break is fine. You want to keep and retain employees. What are they going to do? Are they going to take the subway? That's another 20,000 people that could take the 7 trains to Boulevard Jackson Avenue. Secondly, for most of us that don't pay the fare, only a few of them, I'm saying, look at my sneakers. These are 4-year-old sneakers. I can't afford $200 Jordans. Some of the people that don't pay their fare, or they ask the bus operator, they come in with the $200 Jordans and then use the $900 iPhone. Yes, okay, maybe we're talking world poverty. The fare is too high. But what about their priorities? What priorities are those who can afford the sneakers and afford expensive stuff but can't afford the $2.75? Let's start with that. Now, the other thing too, which really is a problem, is that in downtown Jamaica and most of the city, there is placard abuse. There was a New York City DOT study that people that have cars, work for the city, state, or federal governments, have this sort of entitlement that they can have a placard, they can park anywhere. The New York City DOT studies found in downtown Jamaica alone, there are 170 spots designated for placard abuse. And there are more than 800 vehicles that are using placards to park illegally in an area that's switched this in transportation with 40 bus lines, 4 subway lines, and every railroad area line except Port Washington. You would think that they would at least ride the subway if they could figure that they're entitled and the rest of us have to pay. Well then, let them take away their placards and make them ride the subway and bus like everyone else and see how it is.
Thank you. Chiam Peak.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chioma Eke. Just really quickly, I'm here on behalf of Riders Alliance. I live in the neighborhood
Which neighborhood of Queens?
Riders need leadership from Albany to fund our system, not another increase. I rely on subways and buses to get to and from work and around the city. But unfortunately, the service has gotten worse. Specifically on the weekends, if I'm going to the city, you know, the train doesn't arrive on time. It takes a little while for me to get from one destination to another. So the weekend schedule needs to be improved. In addition to the machines, like the machines where you have to put money inside in order to, you know, to get a new metro card, they need to be improved. Sometimes the machines take my money and I don't even get my money back. Right now the transit we have is barely worth paying for. If the fare goes up, we'll be paying even more for less. Again, that's unfair to millions of riders like me, and it's a bad public policy. Governor Cuomo and our elected leaders in Albany have consistently kicked this can down the road. New York is nothing without its public transit system. This discussion to turn around our system should not be how much more riders should pay, but when our state leaders will properly fund the system that the whole city and state rely on. That's the only way we can fix our transit system. Until that happens, any fare hike is an unfair hike. Riders need a funding plan, not an unfair hike. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public speaker is Rio Medina.
Good afternoon. For me, I'll say that for the community, for them to know more about the MTA, for them to like spread the word and to like educate people, for them to like know what's the situation with the transit and why it's in this condition. Because most people don't know that it's 100 years old and there's a lot of situations that it has to do with fixing it or like how you spend the budget on what you get by us paying $2.75 or $3. And a reason for me to be saying this is because for me to know that the transit was very old, like 100 years old, and there's like a lot of situations, I had to go and investigate myself. But for me and my friends, they do not know that, and my community, they don't really know that much. And for me to resolve a problem would be to educate them or spread the word, like maybe commercials or something about the transit and the reason why it's in this condition, for them to realize why it's possible, but
Yes.
yeah, like maybe like they'll go to the schools or maybe through like a small community educational purpose of
because the thing is, Colton, that this one is live. But when I get home, I'll make note of when you're speaking.
Right. Thank you.
Is it okay if I take my iPad and we record the video that I'm speaking of?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Remind the public that registration is open until 8 p.m. No further public registration.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do.
I'm sorry, we do have one more registered speaker, David Cox.
Oh, God.
Good evening. So my question is, what's all this paying for? You're asking for all this extra money from us. And from what I read, even if you get this money, you're still not going to be able to fix what you need to fix for us. In addition to the fares that we pay tolls to get into the city. There's a tax on wage earnings, there's a special sales tax, a business income surcharge, a petroleum tax, a taxi ride tax, and several real estate associated taxes. Yet you still want more money from us. That doesn't make sense to us. I've been in the city since 2005, and it's only gotten worse. I've lived through 3 or 4 fare hikes, and it's only gotten worse. I hear the complaints about our signals and how they're old and how we don't have the parts to fix them. So question, haven't you guys ever heard of a 3D printer? There are people out there right now who are printing toys, limbs for people that have lost limbs in war and stuff like that. And we can't figure out how to contract somebody to 3D print the parts that are no longer made. That would save us tons of money. But nobody thought that through. Because all we're ever worried about is charging us more money for service that's not improving. It doesn't make any sense at all. This is New York City. We don't complain about what we don't have. We make opportunities. We make things work. So let's make things work instead of asking us for more money. It makes no sense. And lastly, Mr. Bison, I thank you so much, and I respect your hustle for coming here and trying to help us with our transit system. I really honestly do. But sir, if there's nothing else you can give us except the same stuff we've been hearing for years, sir, you're only wasting your own time and our time. I'm looking out for you, not even us, looking out for you. There's no point in doing this. We need help, we need assistance. People can't even get into the subway system. This isn't fair to us. And I can afford a fare hike. It's not about me, it's about them. It's about them. Thank you.
Thank you. Representing State Senator Leroy Comrie, Paul Nichols.
Oh, this is my guy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Nichols. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Senator Leroy Comrie. I'm here instead as Senator Comrie is in Albany, preparing for the upcoming legislative session. He felt it was important that I was out here to be able to represent it because it's a very important issue for himself, for the constituents that he represents, and so it's important that he had a presence here. He thanks the board for coming out and being able to hear and listen to everyone's concerns. As some may know, the Senate was just recently appointed by Leader Andrew Stewart Cousins, who's the chairperson for the Committee on Corporations and Authorities and Commissions. So the Senator looks forward to working with each and every one in a different capacity and different level of oversight. He does appreciate Mr. Lightfoot for coming out, at least trying to be here in the meeting to listen. So the important things that the Senate wants to leave with each and every one here is the concerns and the voices of everyone here are real, and so he just wants to encourage the board members to really take into account everything that everyone is saying here. So we look forward to a productive legislative session. Everyone have a great evening.
Thank you. That is it for our public speakers registered so far this evening. Remind the public again that public registration for public speaking is open until 8 p.m. Until there are further public speakers registered, we will stand.
Dear script, baby, Bobo, this fiasco has to go. Bobo, this fiasco has to go. Bobo, this fiasco got to go. Yep, this fiasco has to go.